Wanderers, gearing your characters in Diablo 4 can be very, very daunting, especially if you are just getting started with the game. If you're joining us, welcome to Diablo 4. This is going to be a very basic overview so you can get yourself set up to start gearing like the pros. The first thing that we're going to start talking about is going to be gear while you're leveling. While you're leveling, you're going to actually be faced with several different types of gear. You're going to have your common gear, which is going to be white. You're going to have your magic gear, which is going to be blue. And then you're going to have your yellow gear, which is going to be rare. You're going to have your orange gear is legendary. And then you're going to have your unique gear, which is going to be tan. Now, the difference between these right here, you're going to have 1 to 2 affixes on your common gear, 2 affixes to 3 affixes on your blue and your yellow gear. Your orange gear will always have its 3 different affixes, and we're actually going to talk why this one only has 2, and then why this one has 3, even though you should always have 3 affixes on your gear. Now, the affixes are the different stat lines that are on it. And then you are always going to have 4 different stat lines or affixes on your unique pieces of gear. While you're leveling, and if you haven't seen it yet, I have a video on a whole bunch of settings that you need to turn on. You're going to be able to see all of these green and red numbers. Watch the video. It'll be in the description of this video here. This will explain to you how to get these on. Now, we're not going to talk about that in this video, but those are going to be really important because when you're leveling, especially up till about 50 to 55, really the only important thing that's going to matter is if it's green, you're going to put it on. And if it's not, then you're going to leave it off. Then you're going to salvage your gear, so make sure you're salvaging everything. It is going to pay off in the very end. Whisper caches will give you millions and millions of gold, so make sure that if you're looking for gold, that's how you tackle it in the very early stages of the game. Don't worry about selling your gear, salvage it all. So you've now started adding in your new gear. Now you're going to start looking at your build guides. You're going to see that in your build guides, depending on the site that you're running and the site that you're using your build guides. Now, all of my build guides are going to be on Mobalytics. I'm the official writer for the Barbarian class there. If you want to check out all the builds, the description of the video will have an updated planner. You can take a look there. I have a whole bunch of leveling guides and some endgame guides for the Barbarian. There are going to be some sites that you're going to see the name of what the item is. Now, is that really important, especially for the legendary gear? So you see, this says runic gloves. Now, what are runic gloves? The really big secret to it is that it doesn't really matter. The name of the pieces of gear that you put on do not matter for what you're going to be imprinting. Now, what imprinting is, we'll get to in just a second. But if you look right here, this says Perpetual Scimitar of Vigor. Now, the Vigor part is going to be what's on the stat lines, and then the Perpetual Scimitar is going to be the name of the item. The name of the item, you're going to find out, does not matter at all. This one right here is going to be your Stern Vow. That's the name of the item. This one is going to be the Runic Skullcap. Now, if you look right here, we have a Stern Vow, and we have a Runic Skullcap of Bolkathos. So if I was to come back over to the Occultist right here, now this is going to be for imprinting. Now, imprinting is going to be where you're going to take an aspect, and then you're going to take that aspect, and then you're going to put it on a piece of gear. Now, what I'm going to show you here, and then we're going to explain the imprinting and the aspect part of it, is that if I take this piece of gear, the Stern Vow, and I put it into the slot right here at the Occultist, and then I can actually add Bolkathos to this piece of gear. As you can see right here, this is going to cost me some materials to add it on. So you cannot start imprinting right away. You're going to have to actually start getting materials, which we'll talk about that in a second. When I imprint this, we now have your Runic Skullcap of Bolkathos and your Runic Skullcap of Bolkathos. Simply by imprinting, we have taken a piece of gear and made it into the gear that you're seeing on the screen. So you don't actually have to worry about the name of whatever it is. Adding the imprint on will change the name of the gear. So what you're really going to be looking for is if you're on the Mobalytics website here, the only thing it's going to tell you is going to be just the aspect, which is the only important part of the gear. It doesn't tell you exactly what the name of the item is because that is not what is important. Every piece of gear is going to have the listed aspect for you. That's what you're going to put onto your piece of gear. Okay, so we talked a little bit about imprinting. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but first we have to tackle the Codex of Power. What your Codex of Power is, if you come open to your menu here, you're going to go into the Collections tab. You can go into the Codex of Power here. This is going to be all of the aspects that you have found that we just saw that you can imprint onto pieces of gear. You have found them throughout the game. There's going to be 2 different ways that you can get them. One of them is going to be from dungeons, and then the other one is going to be from salvaging gear. If you look right here, it's going to say salvage legendary item for the aspect. This one here, you're going to unlock the Flooded Depths. You can click on the pin on map right here, and then this will actually take you right to the pin where the Flooded Depths is. I'm going to have to complete this stronghold in order to do the dungeon, and then I can get the aspect there. Once I complete the dungeon, it automatically adds the aspect to my Codex of Power. So the other way, it said salvaging gear. So as you can see right here, we have a little icon on the very top right-hand side of this. This is going to indicate that this is an aspect that we can gain and improve. Now, the way that it works is you have a very base level of your aspects. As you salvage gear, you have a chance to get higher and higher aspects, and then your Codex of Power upgrades. So you will always have the highest level that you've ever found of that aspect that you can imprint onto new pieces of gear. So you simply take your blacksmith hammer here, and then you're going to go and you're going to salvage this gear right here. And then that's going to add in your conceited aspect to your Codex of Power. And now you have just upgraded your piece of gear, and now you can imprint that onto other pieces. So imprinting is going to be incredibly important here. You can just view the Codex of Power as it is right from the occultist here. You're going to have defensive, you're going to have offensive, resource, utility, and mobility. Each of them can only be on specific pieces of gear, which they're all listed right here for you. You can see what slots you can put onto what piece of gear. So as you find your gear, imprinting is going to be incredibly important. Now, we haven't really touched on uniques yet. Uniques, those names are going to be actually important. The name of the unique is always going to be the same, and that's what you're going to want to look for. You cannot imprint a unique with an aspect. The uniques come with their own separate aspect that cannot be imprinted on any other piece of gear, even if you salvage that piece of gear. That aspect is unique to the unique. So when you're building your builds and you come into a build guide here and you look, okay, there's a legendary section here. We're going to go into the unique section here. The unique section will start to show you the unique items itself. So if you're looking for a really great way to find those unique items, you can come over to my website here, cliptis.com. You can click on Join the Legion. This will bring you into our Discord. It is a huge resource of information for you. There's a lot of great people there. It's incredibly welcoming. If you're just getting into Diablo 4 or you're just looking for an amazing place to be, that's going to be the spot for you. If you go to the leveling guides right here, now while you're on the website, make sure you check out all the game how-to videos because I have pretty much something for everything that you're going to need to know about the game. Go to the leveling guide right here, and at the very bottom, you can find this unique target farming guide. It's going to link you to Wowhead. Now, I'll have that in the description of this video as well. Wowhead here will give you a list of each boss, and then the name of each unique that that boss drops, and it's going to be broken down by class. It has a general pool of uniques, and then specific class items that are only going to be dropped from that boss itself. It'll go show you all of the mythics that can drop, which every boss in the game can drop mythics. They're incredibly low drop rate, so don't expect to run in and do 10, 15 bosses and find a mythic. You're looking sometimes upwards of 100 to 200 bosses, and then hopefully you'll get one by then. But this is going to be a great tool for you to utilize so you can figure out where to go to get your specific gear that you're looking for your build. So we did talk about in the very beginning that this only has 2 affix lines, 2 stat lines, but these all have 3. Because we took a yellow piece of gear, a rare piece of gear, to legendary, we do not gain an extra stat. We just have this 2. So this is really not what you want to look for in the end game. The end game, you want to find pieces of gear that will have these stars on them. These stars are greater affixes. These are going to be the pieces of gear that are going to be the most beneficial for you. The stars give you 1.5 times the amount of a normal affix. And a normal affix is going to be something like this one right here where it says strength. Because it does not have a star, that's going to be the normal affix, and then the stars will be the greater affixes. So imprinting is going to be incredibly important. You can even imprint your legendary gear that is already there. So with the imprinting, you can put your legendary piece of gear that already has something and you can select another one. But what we're going to cover last is we're going to be covering enchanting. You can enchant an item here. So if we go and we put this item in here, now the 15% chance to heal 140 life is not a needed stat whatsoever, because if you look here, I have almost 20,000 life, 147 life is really going to do nothing. You can get a lot more beneficial stats out of it. So you put this in here, you're going to select whichever one you want. Now we're going to select the 15% chance to heal yourself. And then again, along the bottom here, you're going to see the material cost for enchanting. Enchanting, now you can come up to the very top here and you can view the possible affixes that you can get on your gear. Now, if you are running on a controller, you can see along the bottom right here, it says view possible affixes. It does move from this little spot right up here down to the very bottom of the screen. So it is important that you do look out for that. That'll be how you pull up your possible affixes. Now, when you click right here and you click on enchant, it's going to give you 2 new possible affixes to put on your gear. These will actually have a range that you can roll into. So you see your vulnerable damage, critical strike damage. Let's say I want to get critical strike damage. I'm going to replace this affix. And then if you look at the piece of gear, I now have a middle range roll because you can see this can go to 80 to 100%. I have a 90% increase to critical strike damage. Now that was a great roll, but I can actually re-roll this to see if I can get something higher. Now, the material cost on the bottom here, if you look, I'm now up to 400,000 gold. And every single time that I do it, the gold cost is going to increase. So I'm now up to 577,000. And every single time that I do it, I get more and more and more. But I've actually just rolled the highest possible roll that you can get for critical strike damage, if that's something that I was looking for. So now I don't have to re-roll this anymore. My cost has gone up to almost 1,000,000 gold now, and depending on the piece of gear that you're rolling, it will actually go up to a certain number, which will be about 2 to 3 million gold, and then it will stop increasing. So there is a cap, but that is very expensive, especially if you're trying to get some very hard to find stats. Some of the stats out there are very, very difficult. So make sure that that is something that you're going to be keeping an eye on, is your gold cost, because it's really easy to get lost in the re-rolling to try and find the piece of gear, and then all of a sudden, uh-oh, I'm out of gold. With this enchanting process, you can only do one affix line. You cannot do multiple, and even though you have selected just one, you cannot now change to a different one. You can pick one on each piece of gear, and then you can do that. Now, this is just the basics. The next part about this is going to be tempering and masterworking. Now, I'll have a video on that in the description of this one as well. Is a completely different thing with a whole lot of intricacies in it. So that is going to be actually the main source of power, where you're going to get all of those billions and billions of damage that you want to do. So make sure you check out the video. It's going to be incredibly helpful to get you from Torment 1 into Torment 4. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure you share it with your friends. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm live every night. I'd love it if you stopped by, said hi, theory crafted with me. Catch you on the clip side.